Hi, I'm Homayra Adiba, a staff writer at Schoolcraft Connection, and today we are talking to Ashley Rippey.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I am Michigan born and raised, mother of 4, married. My journey on this book.
Yeah, tell us something about your book. What do you talk about here?
I touch on my journey through foster care, teen pregnancy, a lot of grief, a lot of childhood trauma, some sexual assault, and my journey to where I've gotten today.
Some of the stories were really hard. Tell me a little bit about your experience while writing this book. Like, what are the hardships you faced?
I cried a lot writing it. A lot of it brought back memories from my past and my childhood that I wasn't expecting. But I was really curious to know like what my feelings would be once I put them onto paper. And I didn't think it was going to go as far as it did. So it's not only just for me to put my story out there, but it's also hopefully to help other people in the certain circumstances to help them go through things as well. The best thing that I can say is to find people that matter. It's hard to depict who you can count on and who you can't, but the older you get, the wiser you get. And in your journey through foster care, just know, I'm probably going to start crying, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
That no matter where you've been, doesn't mean that you can't go somewhere better in your future.
Yes.
And that even though you've gone through all these hardships, the future outcome is what you make it and what you choose to make of it.
Yeah. And blood doesn't always necessarily need to be family.
Blood is definitely, in my circumstances, blood is definitely not family, always.
Her parents made her feel like she's unwanted. And that is why people were able to exploit you emotionally and materialistically. More than the foster care, I feel like because you didn't have the roof, not necessarily, like literal roof, but metaphorical in a sense that the support of your parents, that you were finding rescue in people who were exploiting you.
Yes. I guess you could kind of say now in layman's terms, I had mommy and daddy issues. I was always seeking love and connection from the wrong crowds. And when they took advantage of my kindness, they didn't realize that it was growing a bigger power inside of me to stand up for myself. So eventually, at some point in my life, I got over the fact that my parents weren't going to give me the support that I needed, and I chose to find it for myself. Because in some circumstances, you cannot go back to your parents when you're taken from the state, which was in my case. The state took my parents' rights, so there was no unification, but there could have been. The judge gave my mother the option to do parenting classes and to go to therapy, and her husband chose not to. So I feel like if we had more of a village to support that and to keep the kids going and the unification between the parents and the child, foster care wouldn't be as bad as it is. Because right now it's underfunded, but there's so many children in the foster care system. Some people get brought in and they go to really good homes. Some, like me, end up in foster facilities. A lot of those are held with a bunch of teenagers in one room. I did, unfortunately, never shower by myself. I always had somebody watching me, a guard or an adult figure. We were very manipulated into how we were able to look and be presented. I always had to wear pants that were 2 sizes too big, and they came up to like mid-belly. Shirts always had to be tucked in. My hair always had to be up in a bun. Nothing touching your shoulders. No makeup. You were a lot of times faced with other teenagers and other kids that had mental health issues, and they weren't treated properly. There were kids that would sharpen pencils into shivs and shank people for no reason. Lots of fights. I didn't experience any sexual assault in foster care itself. Mine was outside of foster care, but I've seen a lot of young women get abused in that aspect.
Yeah, I think you mentioned in the book that you had actually started thinking, like, why all these other girls are being sexually assaulted. And I think you mentioned, like, you were
I was the ugly duckling.
Yeah,
yes,
like
I was considered the ugly duckling because my teeth were messed up. I was a little on the chubbier side. I had really thick bifocal glasses. I guess I can say I'm glad that I didn't get the unwanted male attention then, but looking back on it, I realized as I got older, a lot of what was happening to the other girls wasn't right.
You just wanted so much. You just wanted love and acceptance.
Yes. I wanted a lot of love and a lot of acceptance.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I just wanted to be accepted and to be loved and nourished the proper way. I think that a lot of parents go into it thinking that it's going to be easy, and it's not easy. It's not just for the money. You have to love these children like they're your own.
Yeah.
And you have to accept who they are, because being 13, 14, 15 years old, you're already so set and your foundation has already been written for you. So it's so hard to break that up when you have somebody who's not open-minded to hearing about the trauma and working through it with you. I had my first baby at 17. I got pregnant at 16. I was a junior in high school. I was 3 months out of foster care when I got pregnant. I didn't have a lot of help, and my son's father was barely 19. But that moment that I knew I was pregnant and I knew I was going to keep him, I just made something in me clicked. Something told me, you have to do better for this life you created. Just because you don't have the foundation that others and my parents were supposed to give me, I need to give that to my kids. And every day, I strive to be a better person for my children. I am more than one statistic. I overcame foster care. I overcame the teen pregnancy. And it was very hard to get through that because going through school, people obviously knew what you did. And it made it even harder to graduate high school with a degree and go to college and have all these things. So it just fit. In the beginning, it does start off with the statistics of children that go into foster care. So one night I was just laying in bed and my husband was quietly asleep, and I just shot out of bed and I was like, statistically. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, that's the name of my book.
Yep.
I think it fits. A lot of my book it's not grammatically correct. I did that on purpose. I wanted it to be as real and as raw as possible. I made sure that it was, when you read the book, you read it exactly how I would be talking to you. I want people to connect with that and to see that this is just a story and it's taken me to where I am today. So I typically wrote this book as a way to go through my therapy sessions. My therapist told me it'd be a good idea to kind of write down my thoughts. So I started, and then it turned into this.
These were letters to your psychiatrist.
Yes.
At which point you realize, okay, this is turning into a book. Maybe I should think about writing a book about.
It was actually my therapist's idea. I was just gonna do like a burn book and like write it all down and then light it on fire. But she one day read some of what I was writing and she looked at me and she said, one day you're gonna make a really good author. And I giggled and I laughed like hysterically because I was like, no, I'm not. Like this. No one's gonna see this. And then 6 months went by and I started writing more. And then a year went by and I started writing more. And then finally, roughly, I wanna say about a year ago, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna put it out there. If it helps people and reaches people, then that's great. If not, this was freeing. This set my soul free. So there's no more hurt from my past. No more skeletons in my closet that anybody can come to me and say anything about because it's all right here. Everybody knows. and I'm okay with that.
Thank you, Ashley, for being here and sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned with the Schoolcraft Connection.